There are cases that redefine your perception of what's possible. Cases that make you question the boundaries between logic and the inexplicable. I'm Detective Thaddeus Kane, 24 years with the Chicago Police Force. I've seen it all. Brutal murders, elaborate schemes, disappearances that end in tragedy. I thought I had mapped out every type of crime that exists. I was wrong. What happened during the Caleb Whitmore kidnapping wasn't just a police case. It was a confrontation between two realities: the cold logic of criminal investigation and something that goes far beyond our understanding. This is the story of the case that changed my career, and maybe my life. The Whitmore family wasn't ordinary. Jeremiah, at 45, had built a real estate empire from scratch. A reserved man, measured in his speech, but with a presence that commanded respect in any room. Evangeline, his wife, was a pediatric surgeon at Children's Memorial Hospital, dedicating her weekends to organizing charity campaigns at St. Matthew's Church. They had two children, Caleb, 12 years old, a smart boy who dreamed of being an architect like his father, and Serafina, 8 years old, a girl with penetrating eyes who had the unsettling habit of observing everything in silence, as if she could see layers of reality that escaped adults. Tuesday, October 15th, a gray day, typical Chicago autumn. Caleb should have been home by 4:30 p.m., as always. At 5:15 p.m., Evangeline called me with a trembling voice. Marcus Delacroix, the family's driver for 8 years, was found unconscious in the Riverside Preparatory Academy parking lot. Head injury, memory completely wiped of the last 30 minutes. The school's security cameras showed only blurred images, as if someone knew exactly where to aim to avoid identification. Caleb Whitmore had simply vanished. 2:47 a.m. The Whitmore's phone rang. Male voice, electronically distorted. "We have your son. 2 million, cash, no police. Wait for instructions." Jeremiah didn't hesitate. "We'll do whatever you want. We just want our son back." But then, something unexpected. In the middle of the negotiation, total silence. The line went dead, and they never called again. That's when I knew we weren't dealing with common kidnappers. Professional criminals don't abandon 2 million in the middle of an operation. Something had gone terribly wrong on their end, or someone had interfered. We mobilized everything: phone tapping, camera analysis within a 5-mile radius, background checks on all school employees. We interviewed over 100 people. Every lead took us to a dead end. On the third day, we found the car used in the kidnapping, a black sedan, abandoned and burned in an industrial area. Fake plates, interior destroyed by fire. Forensics found only a single blonde hair that didn't match any database. It was like chasing ghosts. While my team drowned in reports and frustrated hypotheses, the Whitmore family did something that, at the time, intrigued me deeply. They prayed. I'm not talking about desperate last resort prayers. I'm talking about faith that manifested as constant action. Evangeline organized vigils at St. Matthew's that lasted entire nights. Jeremiah, a man who never showed vulnerability, spent hours on his knees in his office, in absolute silence. And Serafina? She had begun drawing obsessively, always the same figure, a tall man in a light suit with a strangely protective posture. When I asked who it was, she answered with the disturbing naturalness of children, the man who's taking care of Caleb. 8th day. My captain was pressuring for results. The media was speculating about police incompetence. And I was beginning to doubt everything. That night, I stayed alone at the precinct until almost midnight, reviewing every file, every photo, every detail for the 10th time. The desk was covered in papers, crime scene photos, city maps. The coffee had gone cold hours ago, and my eyes burned from fatigue. That's when he appeared. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Firm, deliberate steps, but strangely silent on the concrete floor. I thought it was Jim, the night janitor, but the footsteps stopped exactly at the investigation room door. I looked up, and he was there. Tall, must have been about 6 feet, impeccable beige suit, made of fabric that seemed expensive but without ostentation, discreet tie, dark leather shoes without a scratch. But it wasn't the clothing that caught attention. It was the presence. There was something different in his gaze. He radiated absolute calm, as if he carried with him a bubble of serenity in the midst of chaos. His eyes, gray-blue, seemed to see through you, but without judgment, just knowledge, as if he knew things about you that you didn't know about yourself. Angular but gentle face, brown hair perfectly combed, not a strand out of place. Fair skin, without visible age marks. He could have been 30 or 50. It was impossible to tell. But the most unsettling part? He didn't seem surprised to see me, as if that encounter had been planned for a long time. "Detective Kane," he said. His voice was deep, modulated, with an accent I couldn't identify. Maybe British, maybe something older. "Look at the old brick factory on East Industrial Avenue, number 2847. The boy is protected, but time is limited. They will move him soon." I automatically grabbed my pen, scribbling down the address. When I looked up to ask more questions, the doorway was empty. I ran to the hallway, empty. I ran downstairs, questioned Ralph, the night security guard. He was awake, alert, but hadn't seen anyone enter or leave. We reviewed the security recordings, just me, alone in the room, apparently talking to thin air. We arrived at the abandoned factory at 6 a.m. with a full team. The building had been empty for years, broken windows, rusted machinery covered by torn tarps. But in the basement, we found signs of recent occupation. Food packages with current expiration dates, a small blanket still warm, and Caleb's favorite toy, a small wooden airplane that Jeremiah had made for him years ago. We arrived minutes late. The footprints in the dust suggested a hurried exit, almost panicked, as if someone or something had forced the kidnappers to abandon the hideout. 12th day. I arrived at the precinct at 7 a.m. as always. On my desk, there was a paper that definitely wasn't there the night before. Cream paper, superior quality, handwritten calligraphy in dark blue ink, firm and elegant strokes, the type of handwriting you don't see anymore since the 1940s. The message was simple: precise GPS coordinates followed by a phrase. "The family's faith has opened this path. Today, before the sun sets."
The coordinates led us to an abandoned industrial district in the western suburbs. Cement warehouse, 1970 structure, surrounded by empty lots and wild vegetation. We approached silently, tactical team positioned. That's when we heard it. A child's voice, desperate, screaming, "Help! I'm here!" It was Caleb. We found the boy tied up but unharmed in a small room at the back of the warehouse, scared, dehydrated, but alive. The kidnappers had abandoned everything in a desperate flight: food, equipment, clothes. We discovered later that they never managed to negotiate the ransom effectively. Something always interrupted their attempts. 3 days later, we arrested those responsible: Robert Kelman and Vincent Torres, 2 men with a history of financial crimes, driven by envy of the Whitmore family's wealth and greed for quick money. Ironically, they never managed to carry out the plan. Every time they tried to make contact to negotiate the ransom, something inexplicable interfered. They ended up being reported by someone from within their own group, frustrated and confused, never having received a cent. What happened when Caleb saw his parents cannot be adequately described. Evangeline collapsed in uncontrollable sobs. Jeremiah, the man who never showed emotion, held his son with a strength that seemed to try to protect him from all the world's evils. And Serafina, who had remained silent throughout the entire ordeal, simply smiled, a serene smile as if she had always known everything would end well, and said, "The kind man kept his promise." During the family's prayer of gratitude that night, yes, they invited me to participate. Serafina made an observation that left me speechless. "Daddy, the man in the nice suit said that Detective Kane still has a lot of work ahead of him, that he's going to help other families too. God still needs him." When I asked when she had talked to this man, she answered naturally, "He appeared in my dreams every night. He always told me that Caleb was protected and that you were the right person to find him." In the 6 months after the Whitmore case, I solved 5 other kidnappings using methods that my colleagues described as too intuitive to be normal. Coincidence? Maybe. But each case had moments when crucial information emerged in ways I couldn't completely explain in reports. The Whitmore family created the Serafina Foundation in honor of the daughter who always knew, dedicated to supporting families of missing children. But what was most impressive was how they continued with their lives, naturally, but with a completely transformed perspective. They began to deeply value family time, seeking to be closer to each other. Family dinners became sacred. Weekends were reserved exclusively for moments together, and both adjusted their professional routines to never miss important milestones in their children's lives. And Caleb? He recovered completely from the trauma. Today, he's a healthy, happy boy who returned to his architectural dreams and maintains an even closer relationship with his family. I never saw the man in the beige suit again. Part of me still questions whether I really saw him, or if the pressure and exhaustion created a convenient hallucination that my mind used to process subconscious clues. But then I remember the note that shouldn't have existed, the precise coordinates that no normal investigation would have discovered, the perfect timing of each discovery, and mainly, I remember the Whitmore family's unwavering faith. While I ran in circles trying to control the uncontrollable, they maintained a silent confidence that something greater was working in their favor. I learned that there's a difference between having hope and having faith. Hope is wanting things to get better. Faith is knowing that, regardless of the outcome, you're not facing the darkness alone. My name is Detective Thaddeus Kane, and after the Whitmore case, I never investigated a crime the same way again, because I discovered that sometimes the best evidence isn't in the files, it's in what you can't file. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel. Here at True Faith Stories, you'll find authentic and transformative accounts that go beyond the superficial narratives that abound out there. Our stories explore the depth of human experience and how faith can manifest in extraordinary ways in everyday life. Leave your like if you believe there's more between heaven and earth than our logic can explain. And in the comments, share with us, do you believe that God can move the supernatural through prayer? That faith can open impossible paths when everything seems lost? Leave your opinion, tell your experience, and allow your faith to inspire others who may be going through difficult times. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Thank you for listening. God bless you.